Before we start, let me give you some context. I am not an Indian, but I did grow up surrounded by Indian cinema, mostly Bollywood. So I have seen my fair share of those movies. My very first theatre experience was a Bollywood film, way back in the early 2000s. I was so young, I barely remember it. In more recent times, South Indian movies like RRR, Bahubali and KGF, among many more, have largely overshadowed many Bollywood movies. Personally, I stopped keeping up with Indian movies several years ago, with some exceptions like Maharaja and Drishyam 2. The point is, Bollywood movies, especially the ones that came out in the 2000s and early 2010s, are very near and dear to me. I know they're largely dismissed as musicals in the West, but frankly my dear, I don't give a damn. Bollywood movies have some of the best music I've ever heard. And I'm the kind of guy who is so uncultured in music that Metallica and Guns N' Roses might as well be white noise to me.
You did not just say that.
A shout out to Pattrick H Willems' video on Bollywood, which is one of his best video essays. In that video, he mentions a list of movies that he watched, and while I do see why he picked those for the essay, I do think that he missed out on some truly amazing cinema in the process. Well, I'm here to give you some solid recommendations that coincidentally weren't on his list of reviews, even though I think they should have been. These are not just some of my favorite Bollywood films, but some of my favorite movies in general. To keep this video short and to the point, I'm only going to mention 4 movies here and, well, let's get started. Here is my Mount Rushmore of Bollywood movies.
तो 50 साल बाद जब तू बूढ़ा होकर ऐसी किसी अस्पताल में पड़ा होगा और मरने का इंतजार कर रहा होगा, तब सोचेगा कि लेटर हाथ में था, टैक्सी गेट पर थी, जरा सी हिम्मत कर लेता ना, तो साली जिंदगी कुछ और हो सकती थी.
Let's get this out of the way. Three Idiots is one of the most popular movies ever. Even those who have never watched a single Indian movie in their life have at least heard about this or seen a still from it. Three Idiots was as big in India as, let's say, Titanic was in the West. This 2009 classic follows 3 students with different lives and goals who are navigating their youth in an increasingly stressful college. From the pressure of exams to the elite competition from other classmates to the hope and expectations from their families, so much of the real-world struggles are depicted here. But while other movies like 12th Fail, Stars on Earth and Dead Poets Society showcase this dilemma in a serious, more grounded nature, this movie keeps switching between wildly different tones. Sometimes it's very silly, almost a goofy comedy bordering on parody even, only to then switch to a very serious and dark scene, giving you a total whiplash in emotions. And yet, it works. The scene transition from 3 best friends dancing in the bathroom in nothing but towels to a guy committing suicide only minutes later should feel out of place. But it's so organically done that you're pulled further into the story instead of getting pushed out. As for the humor, I'll admit it's not for everyone. And there are some plot holes here and there, but overall, this movie really spoke to a generation of people who felt lost in their academic lives. So much so that even today, Three Idiots is talked about as one of Bollywood's best and most relatable movies ever. And deservingly so. Add to that, the fleshed out characters and memorable dialogues, and you got yourself a classic.
Yeah, well, that's the plan. I mean, 40 के बाद I'll retire and...
Dude, तुम्हें कैसे पता है कि तुम 40 तक जिंदा रहोगे? Seize the day, my friend. पहले इस दिन को पूरी तरह जियो, फिर 40 के बारे में सोचना.
From one movie about a group of friends to another. Just like the last time, this one also follows 3 friends. This has basically been a template in Bollywood ever since a movie called Dil Chahta Hai came out in 2001 and established it. Only, just like Three Idiots, I think this one does it so much better. Don't get me wrong, that movie is also a classic, but millennials tend to overhype it quite a lot, putting movies like it in their own Mount Rushmore of good but overrated Bollywood flicks. As for the movie itself, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara is about 3 friends reuniting for a trip to Spain. Each friend chooses one sport for all 3 of them to do once they get there. And only the friend who chose that sport knows what it is, keeping it a secret from the other 2. Basically, it's just a movie about guys hanging out and having fun doing guy things, all the while reliving old nostalgic moments from the past, while creating new memories for the present and the future. The catch is that 2 of these friends don't really like each other that much and are only there for the 3rd one. After that, each character is going through their own character arc as they go in this journey. One friend is using this trip as an excuse to find his biological father who abandoned him and his mother decades ago. Another friend has a chip on his shoulder about money, while still scarred from a betrayal in his past that leads to some uncomfortable confrontations inside the group. And finally, the last friend who organized this whole trip isn't just using it to hang out with his friends, but also hoping that they will confront him with the obvious truth he himself is too scared to face. Every character here is very layered and well developed with their own individual flaws, personalities, and backstory. Not only that, but just like Three Idiots, this movie also delivers on some much needed life lessons while being entertaining at the same time. It's not as funny as Three Idiots, but the humor is much more universal as it's organically drawn from the character interactions and it never feels forced. This for me is one of the most rewatchable movies ever made. I can watch this when I'm sick, when I'm healthy, when I'm alone, or with friends. And a fun fact, this movie significantly boosted tourism in Spain, causing a 32% increase in Indian visitors after its release. If I had enough money to spare, I very much would have liked to do at least one of the sports the characters do in this movie. But anyway, on to our next movie.
My name is Khan, and I'm not a terrorist.
Of all the movies in this list, My Name is Khan is probably the only movie I featured in a previous video essay. It sure is the best acted out of all 4 of these movies. All thanks to Shah Rukh Khan, aka SRK. This movie is noticeably darker in its subject matter than the previous 2, and understandably so. The story follows Rizwan Khan, a Muslim man with Asperger's who after his mother's death moves to America to live and work with his brother. While there, he takes a liking to a single mother named Mandira, who runs a salon, and before you know it, they're married. Since he is Muslim and she is Hindu, it creates a rift between the brothers, but Rizwan still goes ahead with it and fulfills the promise he once made to his mother, the promise of having his own happy family. This is when everything changes for the worse. What happens, you ask? I guess I forgot to mention that the story takes place in the early 2000s, 2001 to be specific. After 9/11, Muslims such as Rizwan and many more become public enemies. Even the ones who are not Muslims but just so happen to look like them aren't safe. The rest of the story is about this family doing all it can to survive tragedies after tragedies as they lose their friends, their jobs, and even some of their family members. This is by far the most depressing and emotionally devastating movie in this list. Thankfully, despite its grim nature, the movie has a rather hopeful and even wholesome happy ending. Rizwan as an individual is very likable, and him being a Muslim going on this journey symbolizes the struggle of millions who suffered because of their faith. His story is a testament to the unbreakable spirit of a person who is showing up and showing us that resilience is not just about surviving, it's about staying true to oneself in the face of overwhelming odds. This movie is basically a mix between Forrest Gump with his life-changing adventure spirit with the perseverance of the main character from The Pursuit of Happiness. So yeah, this movie slaps. Anyway, let's move on to our final movie.
कौन है? भगवान। क्या? आप मुसलमान होते तो पैगंबर, क्रिश्चियन होते तो ईसा मसीह, आप हिंदू हैं इसलिए कृष्ण। तू इधर भी आ गया?
Okay, now this final movie on this list was by far the hardest one to pick. Originally, I wanted to pick at least one thriller for this list, but I recognized that when talking about this industry, it would be best if I picked a movie that only this culture, this country can produce, at least to my knowledge and experience. Something unique and original to Bollywood itself. Even though I love thrillers, even the best Bollywood has to offer pale in comparison to the ones I've seen from other countries. So, I decided to pick another drama, and not just any drama, a supernatural drama. 2012's Oh My God has one of the craziest premises for a movie I've ever seen. The movie follows Kanchi Lalchi Mehta, a self-proclaimed atheist who sells statues of different gods for a living. Basically, he's a grifter. But then, an earthquake ruins his whole grift by destroying his shop. He goes to the insurance company only to be rejected. So in desperation and frustration, he does the next logical thing. He sues God himself. How, you may ask? Well, he sues all the temples, priests, and the festival organizations where he's ever donated any money for the well-being of his family, work, and life. Oh, and this gets even crazier, because wouldn't you know it, God himself arrives to save him from the religious fanatics out to kill him. Yeah, this movie has an atheist, a god, and grifters who use religion as a business, aka priests. As an atheist myself, the involvement of God's character was a stroke of fucking genius. You see, India is extremely religious, to the point a lot of people on the extreme side of it are more than willing to kill for it. So by involving a god himself, a Hindu one in particular, the filmmakers were able to criticize the whole nature of religion itself and the many contradictions in it without almost any long-term real-world issue. After all, who's gonna complain when God himself is agreeing with the atheist? The Muslims? Nope. They don't want another extra layer of conflict with the Hindus. The Christians might as well not even exist in this conflict. So the filmmakers used the reputation of the real-world God to deflect any and all criticism they could possibly get while roasting the shit out of every religion without any consequences. I mean, just look at the difference between the almost non-existent controversy surrounding this movie to the amount of backlash a thematically similar movie like PK got. That movie had an alien as the main character and no sign of any god anywhere, all the while being a much less harsh critique of religion in comparison to this one at least. And yet, so many stupid people fell for it. This is such a well-done movie that you can enjoy regardless if you are religious or atheist. As long as you're not in the annoyingly extreme side, you're good.
Those are the best thoughts I've had in years.
Oh, and the ending. I'm not gonna spoil it, of course, but this movie has one of the best out of nowhere kind of ending I've ever seen. It does require you to suspend your disbelief a little bit, but given the premise, that was a given.
कृष्णा सूट बूट में आया कन्हैया
मेरी बैंड बजाने को।
Anyway, that's it for now. If you're watching this video and have actually liked it, please subscribe and leave a like. Also, I'm aware that there are many more movies that I haven't talked about. So, let me know what are your favorite Bollywood movies. Which movies would be on your Mount Rushmore of Bollywood, or any other Indian cinema would. Comment them below and have a great day. Bye.